Hello again, everyone. Two blogs in one day. On the Friday before the 4th of July, I've been a little busy. Today, I want to talk to you about how to track releases, epics, features, and stories in a scaled agile world. So, in one of my previous PowerPoint blogs, I talked about the hierarchy or the structure of stories in Agile. So, if you go from the far right to the left, we've got the design, build, test teams that they do tasks, and those tasks are linked to stories that usually the product owner creates, and then those stories are usually linked to the features that are usually created by a customer team or a product team, and then those features are usually linked to an epic that's usually created by a product line management team. But the problem that I'm facing with this theory is how do we track multiple epics that need to be delivered on a same time for a set of customers. So here's kind of what it looks like. We have multiple epics that all need to be released at the same time, and we need a way to be able to track all those. So what I came up with through Google Images was a purse, and all of that purse needs to collect all of our epics that we need to give to our customers. So we're going to throw all of those epics in there, and we're going to create a release story or a purse. Couldn't find a better image, so this is what we're going to go with. And the people that usually are carrying the purse are some of my friends in the program management world that want to track the actual release to a customer. So I picked two of my program managers that I can pick on, so I appreciate them willing to be part of my presentation. So again, we have this thing now called a release story that captures, that collects a bunch of epics. So at a hierarchy, this is kind of what it looks like. So at the top, we have the January 15th, 2012 release, and that thing is going to collect a bunch of epics that need to be released. Below that, you can see we've got two epics. One epic is a fairly large epic, and it has changes that are required on our embedded side, and they have a bunch of stories that relate to that overall feature. And then we also have some web changes, and they also have some stories that are related to it. And then we also have some telecommunication changes that have to happen in order to make it work. All three of those teams, more or less, then have a roll up to that one epic. And then on the other side, you can see that we also have another epic, and maybe this epic only has display changes, but we have to launch all of these at the same time. The thing that I'll caution everyone on is we don't want to have our releases to our customers be a giant release. That's not the intent of where we want to go. So we don't want to try to hold our releases and get everybody to come on the exact same day only once a year. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to release as frequently as we'd like, or we're going to always delay our release because we're going to want to keep adding stuff into the overall customer release. So just something to be careful about. So here's another example, but with this one, I've also talked about having the need for feature teams and component teams. So in this example, you can see that I've actually combined a team that's actually a web team, a display team, and a communication changes, and they're working together on a set of features that they can deliver to that epic. So again, it's just another way to look at it. And this picture is just trying to say if you have more feature teams than component teams, you could actually combine some of those features and deliver that into an epic. So why do we need this release story? So it kind of helps us give a prediction of where we're going based on what yesterday's forecast looked like. It also provides visibility to folks in the management area, helps with release management teams, and it just helps give us a view of where things are going to end up at. It also gives us a goal to shoot for. So again, we know where we need to go, we know how much we want, and then it kind of gives you, here's the date that you can deliver all this stuff by. And then again, it also helps predict, or it also helps us contain how much stuff we can actually fit into a release. What we've been so accustomed to is just throwing everything into that release, and then everything just overflows, and then we never get the release out. And then the last one is for our last release, we tried to use this thing called tags, and that just didn't work. It just was hard to explain. It was hard to keep track of. So when we come up with a release story, now we're going to get rid of using tags. So here are the steps on how to create a release story, an epic story, a feature story, whatever you want to call it. So the first thing you usually have to do is you have to go to the plan page and the user story page. and from there you're going to have to create a story, and we're going to have that serve as our feature. And most teams already have enough stories in their backlog that they then can just link those to a specific story, or sorry, a specific feature. So then again, once you create that feature story, you just need to make those stories children of that feature. And then from there, you're just going to create an epic story, link those features to that epic, and then once you've done that, then you can now link your epic to the overall release. So if there's a release in January, we can link all the epics to that one for all the products. If there's a release that needs to happen in July, and maybe it's only for one product, they can create a release epic for just that. So here's kind of what the structure looks like inside of Rally. Again, you can see this is an epic, and underneath of this epic you have all the necessary features, and then if I was to expand this, you would then see all the individual stories. But if we wanted to, we could also then link this epic to a release story, and then we would have the full picture of everything that's planned to go in that release. And this picture then also shows you how many story points is it, what are the overall what is the overall progress of each of the features that are related to this epic, and then it just kind of gives you that roll up of what are all these stories that it will make for this epic to actually happen. So how do you view it? Inside of Rally, they've got this report called the story burn up, and what you're going to do is you're going to go to the story burn up report, and you're going to enter either your release epic or feature story, and then that will give you a projection of where or how long it will take to complete that specific feature, epic, release, whatever you want to call it. So here's what it kind of looks like. So again, this is a picture of a release that has multiple epics that are associated with it. So this black line really just keeps track of how many story points are associated to that release. So maybe it would be better if we would estimate our big things and the line would be much more flatter, and then it would slightly adjust as we added or removed stories. But then again, you don't want to spend all of your time trying to break everything down and trying to get story points for every single story just in order for you to get the black line to be where you think it should be. But then it kind of gives you a few other things in here. So it tells you how many stories are estimated, how many are in this current PSI, and then how many points have been accepted for the overall release. And then it gives you this great inclination of when will this release be done. And this chart says approximately 10/19. So again, these are the stories being burned up, and this is the overall trend. I wish the report would actually be going down, but again, this is what we have today. We'll probably be working on some more reports to give us a better view and maybe have it actually going down rather than up. So here's another example of another project that a team's working on. They've gone ahead and estimated 98% of their stories, so they haven't started, but they've gone and put big numbers associated to it. So they may only have you can see they have 552 stories, and they've gone through and estimated every single one of those, and they know roughly that this release will take 500 points. And since they haven't started working on it, there is no projection of when it's going to be completed. So again, this is the theory that we're going to try. I've seen it already work with a few teams. I've used it consistently in other projects to project a release. And again, it's just an easy way to communicate to anybody if a project is on track or not. So I hope it helps. I think we're going to try it and see if it helps us project when projects are going to be completed. And if it doesn't, we will inspect and adapt, and we'll come up with a report that works best for everyone. But for now, let's go ahead and try to create the epic to feature. We're going to go ahead and link the stories to features and features to epics, and then link the epic to a release. And we're going to start tracking things based on releases. So hope that helps. All right. Thanks, everyone.